Hey guys, Jonathan Reich here. Today we're going to be talking about some of the accounting platforms that have recently implemented AI. I have used a lot of these accounting platforms in the past as a CPA, and so I wanted to introduce you guys to some of the features that have recently been implemented within them. Obviously, the first one, QuickBooks. Every accountant who's worth their salt has probably used QuickBooks. If not, you've probably worked for the same company since you got out of school, and it's probably a larger company. Some of the key AI features that QuickBooks has implemented over the last couple of years is automated categorization. So as you have bank transactions hitting your bank account, QuickBooks' AI will take a look at that and say, hey, I've seen this before. I think this is probably going to be related to travel and lodging, or this looks like it's probably inventory, or it'll basically say, I've seen this, I know what this is where I think it'll go. It doesn't really necessarily do a great job of taking new information and trying to make an assumption on where it goes, and it'll often ask for you to confirm if that's where you want that book. And that's pretty standard. A lot of these accounting softwares typically use what I liken to pattern recognition. It's not super advanced, it's not thinking on its own, and QuickBooks is no different. Although QuickBooks does have a leg up because they have started to use AI to have analytics ran on their dashboard. So whenever you open up QuickBooks, you'll be able to see the dashboard that you're greeted with will have things like cash flow, incoming funds, outgoing expenses, things like that can help you get a quick glance at your business's health, which is kind of nice, but I think there are better dashboards out there. QuickBooks is just meh, and I would rather drill into my reports to make sure that I understand what exactly is going on behind the scenes, set my filters, and make sure that the accounting period that I'm looking at is the one that I need the information for. Some of the cons of using QuickBooks is one, it's probably one of the pricier accounting softwares out there, especially if you start running some of their premium tiers like payroll. You'll find that costs stack up quickly. Some clients of mine pay over $500, $600 a month for QuickBooks, and that's just for their accounting software. That doesn't include any other ERPs that plug into QuickBooks. And then sometimes it gets things wrong, and that's okay. A lot of these dashboards are going to end up getting things wrong if you're not keeping them on a short leash. So you just want to make sure that you're paying attention, that you're working with the AI saying, yes, this is correct, because what will happen is, if it makes that mistake one time and it books, say, something with the bank memo text of Lyft incorrectly to travel and transportation, but in reality you had an elevator repairman come out, every time it sees Lyft, it's going to try and book it to travel and transportation instead of building maintenance, which that's kind of a stretch. It's just the one that I can come up with, but it implies that if it makes that mistake one time, it'll continue to do it. And until you catch it, it'll continue to do it. And then when you do catch it, you may have 6, 8, 9 months to go back and correct and do a ton of adjusting journal entries. It's better to just ensure that it's correct the first time. And that's going to be a recurring theme with all of these platforms. Moving on from QuickBooks, we have Xero. Xero is a little bit... it's just as old as QuickBooks. It's been around for quite some time. Some of their standout AI features are they do a really good job of using AI to help you effectively manage your invoices. So if you're constantly sending out invoices, billing clients for different amounts, Xero will help with that. QuickBooks can do that if it's commonly recurring amounts, like if I'm billing the same customer the 25th of every month, $2,000 or $2,500, it can help automate that away. But if you have a third-party ERP plugged to Xero, you'll be able to say, Xero, go look and see what my billable hours were for in Square. And then it can say, okay, it looks like there was about 50 billable hours at your normal rate of $100 an hour. We'll bill them $5,000. And so it's a little bit more plug and play when it comes to stuff like that. It also helps automate your bank reconciliations, and Xero is very scalable. So Xero is very good for businesses that are going to grow. They start out small. QuickBooks is as well, but I typically find that QuickBooks gets phased out after around $100 million. I have seen companies go up to $200 million with QuickBooks. Xero doesn't struggle with that as much. You can have a team of people working within Xero in order to continue to scale and grow that business. Some of the drawbacks on Xero, though, there's mixed reviews on their customer support. Different forums out there have different mixed results saying I had a wonderful time working with customer support. They were able to resolve my issues to I'm so frustrated, I'm pulling my hair out, I have this problem, no one else has this problem, and I can't seem to get it solved, and I'm not able to get through to someone knowledgeable enough to help me out. So that can be a little frustrating. QuickBooks, for instance, has tons of forums. They've been around for a long time. I don't typically find myself running into problems like that, and then when I do, every time I've reached out, I've usually been connected with someone who knows how to fix the problem, so that's really reassuring. The other thing is Xero has a little bit of a learning curve. It's not as intuitive of a dashboard to use and get around, but that can be overcome with just a couple months of training. Not a huge time sink. Any of these new platforms, you're going to struggle and have to sink some time into learning how to get around how everything affects something else. And that's going to be a recurring theme among all accounting softwares. The next one on the list that is implementing AI is Sage Intacct. Sage is a lot like QuickBooks. It's been around for a while. I've used Sage a ton. Look, it even says it right here, Sage Intacct with AI. Sage is really meant for larger enterprises. Usually when you phase out of QuickBooks, a lot of companies will say, I'm going to jump over to Sage. And there's a good reason for that. It has really powerful analytics. It has real-time reporting dashboards, and it's very, very comprehensive. But with all of that comes the problem that Sage is very complex. I mean, it can take months, 6, 8, 9 months of consistently using it 40 hours a week as a trained accountant to really be able to get all of the benefits of the platform. It's very granular. You can get lost in the weeds, and that's okay. If your job is to do accounting, you're going to spend all that time in Sage, and you ultimately familiarize yourself with it. It's also meant for larger businesses, which means a lot of times it's cost prohibitive. So it's definitely more expensive than QuickBooks. It can be to the tunes of thousands of dollars a month, but typically you'll have a support representative available that you can reach out to anytime you have an issue. I personally, having worked in Sage for years, have found that to be a bit lackluster. Normally, if I come to them with a problem, it typically wasn't resolved for months on end, and that's because I came to them with very difficult problems. So I'm not going to fault them for that, but it is something to be aware of. The AI portion of Sage really comes into play with forecasting and budgeting, but in order for that to be useful, you have to ensure that all your data is accurate, up to date, and plugged correctly, and that's when it can kind of take off from there. I have found the dashboards to be, they're okay. They're better than QuickBooks, but not as good as some of the other ones like Puzzle, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Has a pretty seamless interface, very visually pleasing graphics, but Sage does a job where if you need raw information, it can deliver it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's going to be right there, correct, and at your fingertips, and that does a good enough job in my opinion. All right, let's talk about Puzzle. So I'm actually in the dashboard here. I got to use Puzzle recently. I'm in a test company right now. Puzzle is kind of the new kid on the block. So far, regarding their AI implementations, I have been very impressed, very blown away with. Basically, Puzzle was built with AI at its core, where a lot of these other accounting softwares, I think, already existed, and then Intuit or Sage tried to like bolt on an AI as an afterthought. And so where they're different is Puzzle has AI as the engine of the software, where QuickBooks might have AI as like an aftermarket part on the car. And so, and that really shows whenever you're working within the system. You get tons of suggestions with Puzzle from its AI saying, do you want to book this here, or do we need to add this to your checklist? Puzzle does, it's just pretty seamless. The other thing is with their dashboard, I was kind of harping on Sage a little bit just a second ago, but the dashboard is just right there. It's ready to present any information. You can drill into just about anything. It'll tell you what it is. You can see like the defining characteristics of that report. It just catches your eye. It's very well put together, and I'm very impressed with it. The other thing that Puzzle's AI does, and this is something I haven't seen with a lot of the other softwares, is the enhanced security features. Puzzle's AI will help detect and potentially, that's the key word, prevent financial fraud or misappropriation. It'll help prevent mistakes from being made, which I think is super neat. I think that's definitely walking a fine line. We don't want to make promises that we can't keep, but it's one of the things that I've consistently seen been claimed amongst their dashboard and their website. Some of the cons of Puzzle and its AI is it's new. It hasn't been out for a long time like QuickBooks. It hasn't been out since Sage was incepted. So there's not as big of a user community. There may be fewer forums out there. And so if you run into a problem, you might be the first one with that problem. And it might be up to you to put that out on a forum. Now, with that, they do have a dedicated support team. It's supposed to be more similar to a one-on-one. We can reach out and work with you on that problem, which I found is typically only reserved for higher-priced customers with QuickBooks, Sage, and some of those legacy accounting software. So that's really refreshing, and it does seem like they're doing their best to make sure that that doesn't become something that would cause people to hesitate to use Puzzle. One other con of using Puzzle is the integrations just aren't quite there yet. They will be, but they're not there yet because it's new. So, and I keep talking about QuickBooks because it's the 800-pound gorilla, but QuickBooks can connect to just about any other banking platform, third-party vendor. If you use it to run a business, it's probably ready to connect to QuickBooks. Puzzle can connect to quite a few vendors, Stripe, Square, mini banks, stuff like that, but it's not going to have as broad of an offering as some of these other legacy accounting software, so that's okay. Typically what I have found is that if you need it, Puzzle can do it, but if you start getting into niche markets or using niche software to help run your business, do be warned that Puzzle may not be able to interface directly with that software, but I feel like if you give it a couple years, ultimately they're going to start rolling out these additional connections, and that really won't be a problem. All right, the final one on our list today is Wave, and this one I thought was neat, and I wanted to include it because they have a freemium version. All the other ones typically cost money to get started, and it's bare bones, and the freemium version of Wave is also bare bones. But I like that it's cost effective if you're just a solo entrepreneur or freelance who just wants to get your toes wet. Maybe you aren't sure if running a business is right for you, and so you don't want to spend $50 a month on QuickBooks. You can try out Wave. Puzzle has a similar program, but as soon as your expenses exceed $5,000 a month, it's going to roll you over to the next platform. I'm not sure if Wave has that exact same model, but you can use it without paying for anything, and I think that's really refreshing. The other thing about Wave is its user interface is very beginner friendly. If you have very little accounting knowledge, you're not going to get hung up in the nitty gritty and what's going on behind the scenes. It's more so like a point of sale system in my opinion than it is an accounting software, and so that's really attractive if you're an artist who just wants to paint or create media as opposed to running paperwork through your accounting software. So that UI is definitely a big plus. You can see kind of an outline of it here. And then it implements its AI using a categorization of income and expenses. So if I have a bill that goes out, it's linked to my bank account, and the bill says furniture from Ashley Home Goods or something like that, it's going to know that that's probably office furniture, and it'll put it to that balance sheet account. Some of the cons of using Wave is that AI tool is pretty basic. It's not going to meet the needs of larger businesses, but that's really not what Wave was created for. And then similar to Puzzle, the third-party integrations just aren't quite there yet. It can connect to a lot of different third parties. Like as you can see, it's connected to Wells Fargo via Plaid here on the dashboard. But if you need something that's kind of far out there, niche, just like Puzzle, you may not be able to connect to it. So with that, AI is like one of the hottest topics in every industry right now. What's it going to disrupt next? Is it going to take our jobs? There's a lot of fear mongering, but there's also a lot of hopefulness as well. To me, AI is just a tool, and all of these accounting platforms are implementing it as a tool. And depending on what your business's needs are, you can pick which accounting software is right for you based on how you want to use that tool. If you're looking for something super deep and analytical and you want to be hands-off, go with Puzzle. If you need a team of people to help you run your mega enterprise, go with Sage Intacct. If you're just some guy who just wants to surf on the beach and sell beach umbrellas, go with Wave. There's unlimited options out there. All of these platforms are implementing AI in one way or another to help you, the business owner, save time, save money, and keep themselves from getting wrapped up behind the scenes with a lot of that admin headache. So based on your business needs, I hope you now know what software is going to best fit your niche. Thanks for watching.